Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we'll continue reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 13. We'll continue from verse 199 and we'll try to finish the chapter today. Nana deshera deshiyata yatrika jana nija nija bohataha kare samarpan. All the visitors who had come from different countries to Jagannath Puri, as well as the local devotees, offered their personally cooked food to the Lord. Age pache duye pravashe pushpo dhyana vane eiyaha paya lagaye nahika niyame. The devotees offered their food everywhere, in front of the cart and behind it, on the two sides and within the flower garden. Wherever possible, they made their offering to the Lord, for there were no hard and fast rules. Bhogera samaya lokera mahabinda haila nrityachari mahaprabhu upavane gela. While the food was being offered, a large crowd of people gathered. At the time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped his dancing and went to a nearby garden. Prema veshe Mahaprabhu upavana paya pushpo dhyane griha pindya rahila padiya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the garden and, immersed in great ecstatic emotion, fell flat on a raised platform there. Nritya parishrame prabhure deha gana gharma sugandhi saitila vayu karane sevana. The Lord was very much fatigued from the hard labor of dancing, and there was perspiration all over his body. He therefore enjoyed fragrant cool breeze of the garden. Yata bhakta kirtaniya aisiye arame prati vriksha tala sabhakarana vishrame. All the devotees have been performing Sankirtan came there and took rest under each and every tree. Eita kahila prabhura maha sankirtana Jagannate rage aicha karila nartana. Thus I have described the great performance of congregational chanting by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he danced in front of Lord Jagannath. Rata gere prabhu aiche karila nartana Chaitanyashtaka rupa gosani karya che varnana. In his prayer known as Chaitanyashtaka, Sri Rupa Goswami has given a vivid description of the Lord's dancing before the car of Jagannath. Purport: Srila Rupa Goswami composed 3 prayers in the title Chaitanyashtaka. The verse next quoted is text 7 from the first of Chaitanyashtaka prayers, which are included in the book Stavamala. Ratarudhyasya radadi padavi nila chalapate adabra premormi spurita natollasa vivasaha saharsham gayadbihi parivrita tanur vaishnava janaihi Sachaitanyah kim me punarapi dasho yayati padam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced down the main road in great ecstasy before Lord Jagannath, the master of Nilachala, who was sitting on his car, overwhelmed by the transcendental bliss of dancing and surrounded by Vaishnavas who sang the holy names, he manifested waves of ecstatic love of God. When will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again be visible to my vision? So this is actually one of the poems composed by Srila Rupa Goswami, and the name of the book is Stavamala. It has many compositions, many chapters in it, and Chaitanyashtaka is a part of the Stavamala. It has three parts, Chaitanyashtaka 1, 2 and 3. So this is from Chaitanyashtaka 1, text number 7. So basically Rupa Goswami glorifies Lord Chaitanya according to his different pastimes. So this specific verse refers to Lord Chaitanya's dancing during Lord Jagannath's Radhayatra. Ihayeshu nesei Sri Chaitanya paya Sruddha Vishwasa Bhaha Prema Bhakti Haya. Anyone who hears this description of the car festival will attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He will also attain the elevated stage by which he will have firm conviction in devotional service and love of God. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Padayara Asha Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Dasa. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunatha, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. So thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 13th chapter, describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic dancing at Lord Jagannath's car festival. So from the last few days, we've been reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and how he was, dancing and doing Sankirtan during the procession of Lord Jagannath's chariot. And then here we can see the mood and disposition of Lord Chaitanya and the devotees, his interaction with other devotees. So there are so many things we have been discussing, and how Lord Chaitanya, while dancing, he exhibited the transcendental ecstasies, right? And we also seen some reciprocation with his devotees, especially with the king Prataparudra. We've been discussing all those things, right? So, this, as we all know, Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's written by Krishnaraj Kaviraj Goswami, right? So actually these are all compilations from the notes of different devotees, because when Lord Chaitanya was present, there are different associates of Lord Chaitanya who were present during his time, and those people who were either witnessed or personally participated in the Lord's pastimes, they all noted down their experiences or what they have witnessed from Lord Chaitanya. Like this, there are so many notes in this regard. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is actually composed by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and primarily based on the notes of two great devotees. Do you know who are they? Yes. Swarup Damodar and Raghunath Das Goswami. And there's one more. Murari Gupta. Yeah, because Murari Gupta was with Lord Chaitanya, especially during his beginning days, right? So most of the Adi Leela actually comes from the Murari Karcha. Karcha basically means notes. That's what, it's a Bengali term. It's called Murari Karcha, and there is Swarup Karcha. So Murari Karcha basically is from which most of the Lord Chaitanya's Adi Leela comes from. Most of the notes was basically based on that notes. And especially most of the Madhya Leela actually comes from the notes of Swarup Damodar Goswami, because he was spending time with Lord Chaitanya personally in Jagannath Puri. So most likely this current chapter, what we were discussing, could have been from the notes of Swarup Damodar Goswami. And actually, interestingly, when I was traveling to India, like last year and years before that, I came across that actually there are so many notes, not just Swarup Damodar or Murari Gupta. There are so many people who are writing notes and noting down the life of Lord Chaitanya, and many of those things are actually not even translated. They are still in Bengali and Odisha language. They are still there. Yeah, so there are some devotees who are working on translating them, but the authenticity is still questionable because we don't know. But I just want to let you know that, the amount of information available in Lord Chaitanya is vast. So, but what we read here is primarily from Murari Gupta's notes and Swarup Damodar and Raghunath Das Goswami. And interestingly, see, what is this festival is all about? This festival is all about Lord Jagannath and his, Rath Yatra festival, right? And we are reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. So when we are reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, who is the primary subject in Chaitanya Charitamrita? It's actually Lord Chaitanya, right? But the festival is about Lord Jagannath, but we are actually studying about Lord Chaitanya, right? So that's interesting, right? Why is it so? Because when we just know we sang the prayers, Jagannath Ashtakam, right? Yeah, he's not different from Krishna, that is true. But is there any other answer? That why is that we are focusing more on Lord Chaitanya than Lord Jagannath, during this time? Is there any significance of reading Chaitanya Charitamrita during this time of the year? Any other answers? So, anyway, so basically, if you look at any, typical festivals, in India, like Ganesh Chaturthi or some festivals like that, sometimes, we read about the demigods. And whenever we read, we basically glorify the particular demigod, or we kind of discuss his qualities and all those things. But here, in a very unique way, basically, instead of focusing on the Lord Jagannath, actually we are focusing on his devotees, right? Because see, when we read about the devotees, that actually sets a right mindset and a disposition we are supposed to have when we are offering our prayers to Lord Jagannath. And that is one of the purpose for Lord Chaitanya's appearance also. He wants to set an example, he wants to set a standard, what a disposition of a devotee should be, especially while worshipping Lord Jagannath. So that is why, this is when we are reading Chaitanya Charitamrita and seeing how Lord Chaitanya is, dancing in ecstasy and what is his mood, right? So that, kind of sets a standard for the devotees, how we should be praying to Lord Jagannath, right? And we also know the prayer, Brahma Samhita, right? Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santas Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, right? So in this prayer, what does it say? Premanjana Churita means the eyes of a devotee are smeared with the Lord, smeared with the love of God. So when we approach the Lord through the devotees who have this love, who has this special love to the Lord, we increase our appreciation, or it becomes easier for us to, pray to the Lord and have the right mindset, right? Even in the Bhagavatam, also we have Sukadev Goswami. What does it say? Sukadev Goswami, the message sweetened even further because it is coming from the lips of Sukadev Goswami. So in the same way, the devotees, when we approach Lord through the devotees, that becomes even easier for us to develop the right attitude and the mood in worshipping the Lord. So here, that's why I was thinking maybe today, maybe trying to understand a little bit more on the, the mood of Lord Chaitanya, right? Because that is the main subject here actually. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is all about Lord Chaitanya, his mood and his interaction with devotees and his transcendental ecstasies, right? And one thing before I want to say something is that, interestingly, I have seen some kind of a pattern. Like, we all know Srila Jiva Goswami has composed Shat Sandarbhas, right? What is the first book in Shat Sandarbhas? What is the first one? Tattva Sandarbha, right? That comes the first. And in Tattva Sandarbha, we can see basically the objective of Tattva Sandarbha is that, Jiva Goswami wants to establish Bhagavatam as the ultimate authority. That is a book we all must be following, and it has all the knowledge, right? That is objective. But within the Tattva Sandarbha also, the way he starts is that it's very unique. Because first of all, before even going into the Bhagavatam, he kind of dwells into the Samadhi of Vyasa. What was Vyasa feeling, or what was his disposition before he even started writing Srimad Bhagavatam? He delves into the Samadhi of Vyasa. And we all know in the 5th chapter or 6th chapter of the first canto, we know that when Narada Muni visits Vyasa, and then he kind of explains why he was feeling dissatisfied, and Narada Muni instructs him to compose Bhagavatam, glorifying exclusively on Krishna. And then after that, what does Vyasa does? After Narada leaves, what does Vyasa do? What does he do? He goes into Samadhi, exactly. So Jiva Goswami spends a lot of time understanding the Samadhi of Vyasa. And in Samadhi of Vyasa, what happens? What is so unique about Samadhi of Vyasa? What does he see in the Samadhi? Exactly. There are three things. Vyasa sees, right? So Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranihite Male Apashyat Purusham Purnam Mayam Cha Tada Apashrayam. So Vyasa basically sees three things. He sees Krishna, he sees Maya, and sees Jiva, right? So this is very unique, right? Because it is very clear that what is it Lord what is it Vyasa is experiencing? Is he experiencing impersonal Brahman, or is he seeing the personalized God, right? So he is seeing the personal God. So that means that now when you study the mood of the author, and then when you study the author's work, then it has to match with his mood, right? Because sometimes what happens is that you may write something, but somebody else may give a different interpretation, which doesn't match with the author's main intent, right? So that is why Jiva Goswami spends a lot of time understanding the mood of Vyasa or the Samadhi of Vyasa. So anything follows after that, it has to align with the Vyasa's experience. You cannot go against the Vyasa's experience. Then that doesn't make any sense, right? So in the same way here, whenever you are trying to, this is very unique, right? Because see, in the science, in the school, when we study something, we don't really care about the author, right? I mean, sometimes you don't even know who wrote that book, or we don't even spend too much time on the author's mood and disposition. No, we don't. It doesn't really matter actually. But here in the spiritual subject, the mood of the author plays a very, very important role, because that sets a standard for a devotee to study, which should align with the mood of the author, in this case Vyasa, or in our case our Guru or Srila Prabhupada, right? So that is something which is very unique. We all must understand and appreciate. These are all like kind of subtle points. So in the same way, when we are trying to understand any spiritual subject matter, we must also keep in the mind the disposition of our spiritual master or the previous acharyas in trying to have this right mood when we are trying to understand any subject matter, not only this subject matter, any subject matter, right? So that is very important. And coming to Lord Chaitanya, what is the purpose for appearance of Lord Chaitanya? He has a very specific purpose why Lord Chaitanya appeared, right? And of course, we know every avatar of Lord has some purpose, right? They all come for some purpose. And Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, right? He gives a general purpose, right? To establish dharma, to kill the miscreants, and to give the protection to the devotees. These are all general. But again, coming to the specific avatar, every avatar also have a very specific reason why they appear also, right? So what is Lord Chaitanya's specific reason for his appearances? What are some reasons? Right, yes. Exactly. Basically, he came to give the Raganaga Bhakti. That's what it means, right? Is there any other reasons for appearance of Lord Chaitanya? Yes. Right, yes. Do you remember them? Correct. Right, yeah. So basically, they classify into internal reasons and external reasons for appearance of Lord Chaitanya, right? So in the internal reasons are like that, right? The internal reason is that he wants to experience the mood of Radha, he wants to, how is she feeling more ecstasy than himself, and all those internal reasons are there. But for a sadhaka, or people in general, see, when the Lord appears, he has a specific purpose. And even though we say this, the Lord came to release the mood of Srimati Radharani, but that is his personal thing. That is not a teaching. That is his personal thing. But for the people in general, he has a specific objective why he came. He just wants to teach the science of bhakti, and especially he wants to focus more on the Srimad Bhagavatam, because for Lord Chaitanya, Bhagavatam is everything, right? That's why he didn't even compose any work by himself. He only just composed Shikshashtakam, right? Because he wants to establish the Bhagavatam as the ultimate philosophy and ultimate, the foundation for the practice of devotional service. And then he came to teach the science of devotional service, and especially the Raganaga Bhakti. That is what the verse says, right? Anarpita Charim Chirat Karnaya Avatirnaha Kalu Samarpayutum Unnata Ujjvala Rasa Swa Bhaktim Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sandipitaha Sada Hridaya Kandare Spuratav Va Sachi Nandanaha. Actually, Jiva Goswami gives a very elaborate commentary on this verse. If someone wants to read, they can read it. But anyway, coming back to the point, what is the purpose of Lord Chaitanya is that basically he wants to teach by practical example, right? Because see, when Lord Chaitanya was present personally, you know, you don't see him giving any lectures or any philosophical lectures to the people in general. No, he was mostly into chanting and dancing and prasad. I mean, if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's all about that. Kirtan prasad, right? I mean, right? Even though he had a discussion, but it is not to the public. It is a private talks with his intimate associates, and they later on wrote the books. But for people in general, Lord Chaitanya basically showed how to practice bhakti by practical examples, right? Because see, ultimately, everybody, Lord Chaitanya or, all the acharyas, in one sense, they are teachers, right? They want to teach something, right? And when you say teacher, every teacher, has a different strategy how they want to teach, right? Some teachers, they want to show by practical implementation. They don't talk much. They want to show. They want to show by practice, right? And some teachers, acharan, that's what they say, acharan. That means, showing by practical example. And some other teachers, they may not have much disciples, or they may not be too much into training, like Goswamis. The six Goswamis, they didn't have many disciples actually. They were all almost like mainly focused on, writing the bhakti philosophy. They were not too much into preaching or initiating a lot of disciples and all these things. Of course, Jiva Goswami was there because Jiva Goswami was actively involved in, at least teaching. I don't know if it has any disciples or not, I don't know, but at least he has some students. So Lord Chaitanya is or more of a category of where he wants to show by personal example. And here, this when we study these verses of how Lord Chaitanya is exhibiting his ecstasy in Radhayatra, he is showing by practical example actually how a devotee should be participating in the festival, and how what should be the mood and interaction of a devotee should be. So that is what is Lord Chaitanya is showing us here, because ultimately what he's showing is that he's basically exhibiting the love of Godhead, to put it simply, right? So, and when it comes to love of Godhead, before we love somebody, the first thing that should come is surrender, right? The love is something which comes after surrender, right? So here we can see by interaction of Lord Chaitanya with his different devotees, we can learn actually a lot of principles, because especially whenever we conduct big festivals like this, right, where there are like thousands of people attending and there are like hundreds of devotees taking part with, in services, obviously, when you have so many people coming together, there will be some kind of a challenges, right, to working together. And obviously, we being a devotees, we are supposed to have a certain kind of disposition, especially, when performing our devotional service. And for us, basically, to show our love to Lord Jagannath and to the Lord, it also reflects upon our surrender. Because see, surrender actually, it sounds easy, but at the same time it is very difficult also. Because see, we are conditioned in our own ways. And when we are conditioned in our own ways, sometimes when working in groups, right, sometimes you have to kind of compromise, or sometimes you have to be cooperative. And in those circumstances, one has to raise beyond one's own conditions and work in cooperation, and through that cooperation we must show our love, right? And that's what Prabhupada said, right? What did he say exactly? Yeah, you show me your love by how much you cooperate with each other, right? So there are two things mixed together. If you look at the line, there are two things. One in personal level. On the personal level, it is surrender. What is surrender? Surrender means that, even though we have our individuality, even though we have our things, but the service supersedes, to please the devotees and to please the spiritual master. And definitely when you're saying pleasing, that means that's love, basically what you're trying to show. So 2-3 years back, I remember, especially, last week of Radha Yatra is always intense, right? There are so many things we need to be working on. And there's always some kind of a challenges. And so Savas Prabhu, he was mentioning 2 years back, I think. So he was telling that, whenever, I come across any difficult situation, especially during festivals, especially, Radha Yatra, I keep Jagannath in center and make the decisions. You see what I'm saying? It's not like, one person in center. It's when you put Jagannath in center, rest everything, falls in place. You see what I'm saying? So that also means that, we prioritize Lord Jagannath and then do everything what is needed for the festival and what is needed to please the Lord and the devotees, right? So if we all can develop that consciousness, right, and show our love to Jagannath through that, the mood and disposition, and that comes with surrender. I mean, the love cannot be without surrender. Love has to come with surrender, and surrender basically means that, we overcome our own conditions and then we cooperate, and that's how we show our love to Lord Jagannath. So this way, by reading Lord Chaitanya's pastimes and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of interaction with devotees actually. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, even though there is philosophy, it's all about the Lord's dealings. It's all about Lord's dealing with the Lord Chaitanya's dealings with the Lord, or the Lord Chaitanya's dealing with his devotees, and like Prataparudra and all these devotees we have seen. So these are some of the things what we can keep in mind when we are reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, and these are some things which we can imbibe to ultimately develop that mood where we all can offer our loving services to Lord Jagannath, especially during this time of the year. So this is something which I was kind of contemplating when I was told to give class today. So if anyone of you also would like to share something, it will be very nice. Any comments or questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful explanation. This is in the last translation of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, anyone who hears this description of the car festival will attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right. He will also attain the elevated state by which he will have firm conviction in devotional service and love of Godhead. So,
yeah,
after all the beautiful explanation you gave,
right, yeah, actually this summarizes the purpose.
And then I'm thinking, right, according to this statement, doesn't necessarily mean that the devotee will be achieving this in this lifetime. It appears that many devotees I've seen, they came, they did service, they put all their heart into, and they went through a lot of challenges.
Right.
And they, for some time, we don't see them for many years. Mm-hmm. Sometimes some of them come back. So. Right. Can you speak something about that?
Yeah, see, ultimately what really is supposed to, the goal is the transformation of one's heart. That's the goal, right? I mean, so once you, and that is what it says, right? Anyone who hears this description, right? So what does it mean? Like when someone is hearing the description, what is expected? The expectation is that someone's heart gets transformed, right? And if somebody's heart doesn't get transformed, then definitely, they will not get the full benefit. And this is a benefit, right? The benefit, he says, he will attain the elevated stage by which he will have firm conviction in devotional service and love of God. Because see, sometimes, people come to temple, right? But when people come to temple, of course, coming to temple is important, but the mood is even more important, right? Because sometimes people come to temple maybe to steal something, right? They maybe just think what they can steal and all that stuff, right? So, yeah, external things doesn't really make much difference. What really matters is the mood and the understanding, and ultimately what matters is the transformation of one's heart. That's the success. So yeah, when we are practicing devotees, we can evaluate, right? See, we may be participating in maybe so many festivals, or maybe we can say like, I was there from last 20 Radha Yatras or something like that. But ultimate thing is that everybody must honestly evaluate how much our heart is transformed by that service. Because as I told you, it's not just about taking darshan, or it's not just about coming to the temple. It's all about the mood and understanding. That is more important. That's more internal. That everybody has to work on themselves. Any other comments or questions? Okay.
Thank you so much for the beautiful class, Prabhu. Just a comment. Last Saturday, I got the opportunity to go to this kirtan. They had a kirtan once a month kirtan in the park.
Oh, yeah,
They
yeah,
all the devotees like they wore any sort of just modern clothes and everything.
yeah. Right.
But when they had the kirtan, it was so beautiful attitude. Their mood was really into it.
Exactly.
So the external doesn't matter. They were very serious. They offered the whole time for
Yeah.
Krishna. So that is for
Exactly.
the way you explain the mood, the internal consciousness is more important.
Exactly.
They were all very young, all from different countries.
Right.
It's a very positive attitude. I even, because you said that association is important, even I was like looking for things like even I can give someone, but when they were in the mood, I became
Yeah.
very serious too. So the association, thank you so much.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.